So I remember very vividly the first time that I ate something that made me cry. I was strolling through the rambling streets of Quebec City, admiring the Baroque and Chateau-style architecture, and it was about 10 o'clock in the morning, and suddenly I felt this rumbling sensation in my stomach. Well, I knew it was time for breakfast. And I just happened to see right in front of me this really beautiful wooden carved sign. In fact, it looks just like the ones on the wall. And hand carved on that sign was this kind of scene of a basket of loaves of bread kind of overflowing. And the words Panetier Balochon were inscribed on the sign. And for those of you who don't know, a panetier is a master bread baker, one of the oldest, most important guilds in French history. And a balochon is kind of like one of those sacks attached to a stick that you see cartoon characters with over their shoulders when they're running away from home. And thought it was kind of funny, but I didn't realize it at the time, but this was totally perfect because I was about to experience patisserie transcendence. I walk inside the bakery and I see these gorgeous wooden shelves just kind of with piles of different pastries on them. And I made my selection. It was a very simple croissant aux amandes, which is just a croissant with some almond paste filling. It was the most beautiful golden brown color. It smelled of sweet cream. And when I bit into it, it sang this dulcet, sweet little crackle. And as my brain sat there trying to process its sweet, nutty flavor, I was overcome with this well of emotion. The back of my head began to tingle right at the crown, the hairs on my neck stood up, and I just started crying right there in the middle of this cafe. What was it about that singular bite of this Quebecois croissant? It wasn't its perfectly buttery texture and soft, pillowy interior and crispy exterior. But what it was the connection that croissant made me feel. As I sat there in that cafe, I looked over and I saw that they only use organic whole grains that they grind in-house. This dedication to this ancient craft of baking, this pride that these people had in such a seemingly simple piece of baked good that they put so much hard work into, sitting there feeling how I was kind of immersed in this place, this culture with this history that cares so much about its food and takes that time, was so moving to me. Now, the second time that I ate something that made me cry, I didn't even have to taste it. So, I was standing in my kitchen, my little tiny kitchen in Philadelphia, and staring straight into this box of zucchini from my CSA. And I was so sick of zucchini because it was the end of the summer and I had gotten so much already and I'd done it so many different ways. And I just stared at it. And suddenly this kind of instinct kicked in. And I brought out a pot and I put some garlic in it and olive oil and red pepper flakes. And I tossed in some tomatoes, and I tossed in the zucchini and a Parmesan rind for good measure. I set the pot on the stove with a little low flame to simmer. I poured myself a glass of Pinot Grigio because it was the summer and Philadelphia is really hot. And I went and sat on my balcony. And when the appropriate amount of time passed, I went to go back into my apartment, and I opened the door, and this blast, of smell, aroma, really, not smell, aroma, hits me in the face. And again, it's like one of those, I'm rushing, trying to process, what is this smell? It's so familiar. And I walk up to the stove, and I just kind of lean over the pot, and I close my eyes, and I take in this aroma. And suddenly, I'm a little 12-year-old boy again, and I'm just walking into my grandma's kitchen. And there she is, little 4.5-foot tall Vincenzina, hovering over a pot of soup, the same pot of soup. And I opened my eyes, and I swear it was just running down my face. And I can feel this little soft hand on my cheek, and this little voice in my ear saying, "Break the cheese, the soup's ready." But again, what is it about that pot of soup, about that croissant? So my grandmother is no longer with me, but that soup will always be with me. And that's what it is for me with food. It's this connection that it gives all of us to our history, our identity, our place, the land. Food, for me, is truly soul food. It's a spiritual experience, really, the act of eating. You know, when I first wrote this, at this part, I had this little thing that I wanted to say about how I hope that all of my kids get the chance to find their transcendental croissant. And in some ways, that's true. But I think, when I think about it now, so good food, good, nourishing, healthy food has this power to do this for us, to make us feel totally connected, right? Bad food, not so much. You know, there's, a candy bar doesn't really have a lot of soul, I don't think. Not to me, anyway. But if I had one hope for my service, it would be that one day, one of the kids that, I do taste tests and cooking lessons with will be an adult and, get their produce and be staring at this little box of kohlrabi and being like, okay, do I eat the skin or do I take it off? And then this little instinct will kick in, and they'll start cutting it up, and they'll have this nice little kohlrabi slaw in front of them, and they'll serve it to their kids or to their friends' kids or whoever. And when they take that one little bite of it, they'll remember, and they'll start crying. So that's why I'm a FoodCorps service member.